Okay, guys, it's amazing how quickly a position can collapse when you actively seek to create targets and attack them. This complete game example shows a more typical minority attack battle, and this is from the Aberbach-Donner game, round 9. And Yasser Seirawan starts it after the first 11 moves. For those of you at home that have winning chess strategies, go ahead and turn to page 133 and follow along. The game is quiet, and as diagram 87 shows, that's what's set up on your board right now. Neither side has any real weaknesses. White decides he has to strike at something, so he starts an immediate minority attack. This move draws the black bishop away from its control of b4 and allows white to safely advance his pawn to that square. Notice here, black's got this bishop on this diagonal. All of that. White needs to get a pawn up here before black does that, because otherwise it's not going to work. Because if you wait too long, like if you do this, they just go like that. You play a3, black plays a5. Now you take, they take back, you take. Now they push their pawn to b5, and you just have this backward pawn. If you can get it, then yes, white will have two isolated pawns. But there's a whole faster way to get, well, a whole lot faster way to get that minority attack going, which is to just trade off the bishop for the knight, gets the bishop out of the way, and then immediately snap on it. Just go ahead and take that b4 spot. And that's what white did. Now, the game now revolves around the newly created weakness on c6. So white's going to play the key move. What is it? Take a look, see if you can find the key move. White needs to do this right now. Yeah, needs to do it right now. Don't wait around, do it immediately. See it? There it is. White brings his pieces to bear on the c6 target. Now, black indirectly defends the c6 pawn. Anybody see how he's indirectly defending the c6 pawn? He's got two pieces covering c6. Anybody see them? Right here, the rook. Yeah, you probably spotted that. But for little kids at home watching, did you spot if the bishop was out of the way, the queen also protects c6? Yeah. Now, rook takes c6 loses. I'll show you why. Loses by force. Because Yasser says that this move is followed by the next move. No matter what white does, whether he goes here or there or just takes the bishop, oh, excuse me, that's the key. Now you notice there's different odds. Take those off the board, take the queens off the board. If you're white, you're going to be stuck with a knight against a rook. Not a good deal. So instead he does this. Okay, white brings his knight back into play. Never leave a knight sitting around on the first rank. He also keeps the enemy horse out of c4. This move restricts the scope of the black bishop and gives the king a little room to breathe. Now, 22, rook takes c6 is a real threat. White does this. Lets black do that. Then white does this. King to g2. Black's on the defensive. So white takes a moment off to bring an extra defender to his f3 knight. The king also keeps enemy pieces out of h3. White gains space in the center. He doesn't fear d takes e4 because knight takes e4 just helps to activate his knight. True, white would then have an isolated d pawn, but none of the black pieces would be in a position to attack it. White keeps taking more and more space, realizing that he's being pushed back on all fronts. Black tries to activate his pieces with c6, c5. Now, black managed to get the rooks off the board, a good trade because the white rooks were more active than their black counterparts. How many people spotted that? Did you notice which rooks were more active? And did you notice that it would be in black's best interest to get all the rooks off the board? But he still has an isolated d-pawn. White hastens to block it with his knights, fixing the pawn on d5 and also demonstrating that his knights have found a permanent hole on d4. Remember, always strive to dominate the square directly in front of an isolated pawn. White attacks the bishop and brings everything to bear on d4. This knight is very strong on d4. And now, knight takes c4. No, knight to c4. Oops. Knight to c4 loses to the following moves, which wins a piece and a pawn. Can anybody see the combination that wins a piece and a pawn? Here it is. See it? Forking queen and king. White's eyeing the pawns on a7 and d5. It's clear that black's bishop is inferior to white's knights. Okay, white would not normally be in a hurry to trade off his wonderful knight, but the exposed position of the black king gives white a chance to start a decisive attack. White's threatening queen takes d5 and knight to d8, forking king and queen. Black is helpless against the threat of knight to e5, followed by a check on f7 or g4. If he plays d4, white's easiest answer is king to h2, breaking the pin. Black resigns. White's strategy's paid off. Weak enemy pawns don't just magically appear, you must create them. Thanks for watching.